No, this title isn't clickbait. I'm not bamboozling you. This isn't a early April Fool's joke. It's none of that. I actually decided to get into art, to drawing, and seeing if I enjoy it. Because for a very long time, I've always wanted to do it. For those that do not know, I have dabbled in many creative fields. I've done graphic design, I've done music, I've done video editing, YouTube if you want to count that, but I've never done art, and it's always bothered me. Like, I've done art in high school, you know, I did some artwork and I'll put it on screen right now if you want to check it out. But besides what I did in high school and then a couple classes in college, I haven't really touched art at all. It's always been something that I would say I've been scared of. I've been nervous because I'm like, what the fuck could I actually do? Like, I've seen my handwriting. I know what I'm capable of, and it's not a lot, at least when it comes to drawing. I haven't really been able to do anything. So for a long time, I was like, nah, it's not for me. Not going to do it. But eventually time just keeps on progressing. And I was like, you know what? Why not give it a shot? But there's also been a couple factors that have motivated me to actually take that step forward and actually try it out. One of those being PewDiePie's video. I saw that, I was like, hey, he can do it, man. What am I scared of? Well, I should at least be able to take that step forward. So that was part of it. But another reason was because I wanted to design some stuff for my channel, for my Twitch page and my Twitch panels, and just trying to maybe make some emotes and things like that. And I was like, I have ideas, I have things I want to make, but I can't draw them. I have to go on Google and look up stock photos and clip art images. And I was like, I don't want to use any of that. I want to make something of my own. And that, it really bothered me. So I was like, all right, you know what? We're just going to go in. We're going to try and give art a shot. I'm gonna give myself like a 30-day challenge of some sorts. And what happens, happens. If I like it, cool. If I don't like it, at least I gave it a shot and I at least tried. Because it's better to say that you at least tried than to not have done it ever at all. That's the whole reason I started YouTube. I want to at least say that I tried it and I gave it a shot, than to have never tried it at all and then get to my 50s and 60s and ask myself, well, what if I had done that? I didn't want to have to do that for art either. I don't like doing that for anything in general. So I am glad that I got the push to actually get into art. Now, how my experience has been, I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to tell you as I go through the days on the art that I've done. So with me wanting to get into art, I went down two routes. I want to do traditional art. Well, that was my original intention. I bought me a sketchbook. I had everything ready to go. I did it day one. And then I moved on to digital very quickly because I was like, this ain't for me. But I'm still going to show you what I did for traditional, starting off with the very first day. And then after that, I'll start showing you everything I did digitally for the second day and ongoing until the final day that I finished doing this challenge. And if you're curious about any of the equipment I've used throughout this journey or anything that I'm currently using for art, I have a link in the description below so you can check it out. Some of it I don't use anymore. I tried it out and it wasn't for me, but I'll explain that part more once we get to it. So for the first day, I pretty much just followed along some random tutorial I looked up on YouTube. I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to give myself like 30 minutes, maybe like an hour tops, and I'll just see, I don't know, I'll try and practice whatever this is. And so what you're looking at is just me trying to draw a head. I try to draw circles and try and get the different perspectives of where a face might look. But clearly, obviously, it wasn't going to be amazing. A lot of it was just like, oh, it was like, what the fuck is this? But of course, it was very first time. And then I also did a bunch of exercises of drawing straight lines or trying to draw straight lines. The whole idea of it is to the more muscle memory and I guess getting more adjusted to drawing straight lines. I guess whenever you want to do your line art or whatever the case might be. At the time, I was just like, I don't know why I'm doing this, bro. I'm just following along. It says to do it. It says it's going to help me down the line so that in the future, the more times I do this, the easier it'll become. And I was like, let's go. All things considered, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was still good enough practice. It was a good enough way just to get a feel for things. Now, after day one, everything past that is all going to be digital. So for anyone who's hoping to see me have more like sketches in a sketchbook or anything, I don't have that, bro. I'm sorry. I really just, I enjoy doing digital art and I really enjoy it a lot. And while I understand the importance of traditional and mastering that and everything that goes with that, I ain't do all that. I'm gonna be straight with y'all. As we progress in the days of art that I was working on, I'll explain more behind my mentality on how I decided to approach all this, because I know for a lot of people who have a very hell-bent specific way on how they like to go about things, my way isn't the way to go, nor will you probably be happy with my way. But ultimately, it made me very happy, and the whole reason why I continue to keep on going throughout this journey. If I would have done it the way that, the correct way, if you will, or the most recommended way, I would have hated this shit and I would have quit right off the bat. I'm gonna be real with y'all. But I'll explain that more as we move on. Moving on to day two, I tried to color some random line art I found on the internet. You can sit there and see their deviant art in the bottom right corner if you want to check it out. But I looked this up and I was like, all right, let's try some coloring. I don't know anything about this shit, but you know what? I'm gonna give it an attempt. And honestly, for what it's worth, it honestly isn't that bad. Especially considering the fact that I had no tablet or anything to use. I used a whole mouse for this, and it took a while, don't get me wrong. It took a hot minute to do this, but it still turned out pretty fucking well. And also I had some help with some guidance from a friend of mine in chat while I was doing this, because I did stream some of this live. But because I had no tablet, I was like, the best I can really do at this time is color something. So I was like, let me try this out for tonight. And so this is all I did for day 2. Moving on to day 3, I decided to try and trace some line art and then color it in. And this is what you get. It's honestly one of my favorite pictures of all time. I'm not gonna lie. This is Kaguya from Love is War, one of my favorite characters of all time. And I was like, you know what? Let me see what I can do. So, and this is actually the first time I used a drawing tablet or anything at all. And I used it with Photoshop, which is because I use Photoshop all the time. And I know that you can draw on it. So I was like, why not make it work? And so I'll put some pictures on screen right now as well too, if you want to sit there and see the tablet in action. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to check it out. It was a Wacom 113, whatever the fuck is called, but with the AI shit that Wacom has pulled recently, I wouldn't support them. I actually didn't even stick with the tablet anyway because it didn't fit for my workflow purposes, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. It's not to say it was a bad tablet, but in terms of supporting the company, I would look elsewhere to maybe XP or Huon. I don't know how to spell it, but I'll put their name in the description below if you want to check it out. But yeah, this is what we did for day 2. Wasn't too bad. I was pretty happy with it, especially considering, again, I haven't really looked up too much other than like 1 or 2 tutorials, and it was just to get a grasp of just using tools and getting something going. Now moving on to day 4 is where things got really interesting, because this is where I changed up my whole mentality for everything, because at this point I was getting really lost. I didn't understand what I was really going to do. How was I going to approach this art journey, if you will? Because for me, I looked at, oh yeah, I can go a traditional route. I can go and look up anatomy. I could start practicing this. I could start practicing that. I could do this. I could do that. But none of it sounded like fun. All of it sounded very boring. I was like, why would I even want to go through that when I don't even have like that like itch yet? I don't have like that drive. And so I was like, what can I do to really just get things moving? And so I decided I just want to draw anime shit. That's really it. I was like, I like anime. I want to draw anime. And so what better way to want to get into drawing than by drawing things that you enjoy? And I really think that that's the best route to go. Personally speaking, it has been a blessing. It has helped me out tremendously. But also that on top of that, I switched from using the Wacom to going to an iPad and using Procreate with that. I saw that as another option. A lot of people recommended that as well too. And I was like, you know what? I want to try out all my options, because maybe one thing works better than the other. Because if I'm entirely honest, doing the Wacom route and using Photoshop, I did not enjoy that experience at all. I thought it was complete dog shit. But at the time, I didn't know if Procreate was going to be good either. But again, the whole point is to open my options and see what I prefer. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you never know what you're going to prefer until you actually try it out. But I also do recognize that the route that I go is not exactly the most logical or feasible route, or even the most budget friendly either. This shit is definitely not the most budget friendly. It's just, for me, I always go all out into things that I want to pursue or things that I really want to try out, and luckily I have the income to do these purchases. But for anyone starting out, there's nothing wrong at all with just sticking with doing the pencil and paper, going on a sketchbook, or using a tablet without a screen. Those are typically what is recommended for someone who's just beginning, who is just starting out, because you don't really know if this is going to be something you want to do, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money and then feel burned at the end because you didn't stick with it. That is all 100% facts right there. Again, the only reason why I chose not to go that route is because I'm lucky to be in a position where I can afford higher end tablets and tablets with screens. And for me, I always go all out. So that's the reason why I did it. But again, there's nothing wrong with the route I told you earlier. Do not go my route unless you, for some reason, really just want to go all out and you got disposable income to just go try out something completely new, whether or not you even know if you're going to like it or not. Personally, I say the other route's the best way to go for the most part. So for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to go too in depth to all the artwork I've done from day 4 all the way up to day, was it 24, I think is where I finished it off, or day 25. I'm not going to go super in depth for all of it. I don't really think there's any reason to. I'll just give my complete thoughts towards the end of it after I show you the final photo for the last day, and then I'll just sort of do a brief summary after that. So for day 4, I followed a tutorial from a YouTuber by the name of Draw with Michelle. She has a bunch of really great tutorials that I highly recommend if you're getting into digital art. You got Procreate, you got iPad, or even any program at this point. You don't need an iPad, you don't need a Procreate, but the only reason I say it is because that's where her tutorial is oriented towards, and so it's a lot easier to follow because you know the exact brushes, they're all there and you can follow along. But it's not needed. But I followed along and I created this cute little strawberry, and I was pretty proud of this. I was like, oh shit, I actually fucking did this. I was like, no way. I was like, that's fucking wild. And so to me, it was just a really eye-opening moment that I was like, oh shit, maybe I can maybe do art, you know, because up to this point I was like, I hadn't really done anything too crazy, but you never know until you try. And for those that are wondering why I even follow these tutorials, there's a specific reason. And well, there's actually a couple reasons. One of the first reasons is getting to know the software that you use. That is why I look up Procreate tutorials specifically, is because it's a lot easier to follow and I can see all the brushes they use. I can see exactly what they're using, how they're doing this, how they're doing that. And then I can replicate that and pick up on new things so I can incorporate it into future artworks that I do. And so that's why it was very crucial that I did draw with Michelle's tutorials, and because they were super beginner friendly. I cannot stress that enough. It was super simple for someone like me to follow along. And I'm internally grateful for her tutorials, because if it wasn't for those, who knows, maybe I would have quit, dog. Anything is possible. But yes, I highly recommend checking it out if you are new into digital art. Moving on to day 5, I found another video called The Art of Progress 15-Minute Daily Drawing Routine by Asia Ladowska. I apologize if I said that wrong. But her video is supposed to be a 15-minute daily drawing routine. I'll be honest, I took probably like an hour to do this, and I was happy with it though. I was super proud of this. I was like, let's fucking go. I was like, I did, because her video isn't really like a tutorial video. It's more like a time-lapse video where it just shows her creating it, and she just shows her process on how she goes about making her version of this. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll see what I can do. And obviously it wasn't easy for me, especially considering the only thing I've done up to this point was the strawberry and then coloring in some line art and tracing some line art. So of course it was going to be rough for me, but again, I was still super happy with this. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this piece specifically is because I decided to use this video and this time lapse as a way to keep redrawing this character as time progressed, and sit there and see how my skills improve every time I felt like I made a monumental step forward in terms of my skills. So throughout the days that I show you, you're going to see me redraw this character even more, and it's actually going to be the final drawing. You're going to see day 24, whatever day it is, you're going to see me redraw this one more time, and you're going to see how far I've come since this one that I did on day 5. Now, I also did Santa Cat, which is another tutorial I follow from Draw with Michelle. I thought this one was super fire as well too. I was getting super hyped. I was like, let's fucking go. I was like, this is fucking crazy. But I did take a break after that. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, I thought you said this is the 30-day challenge. How are you having a 30-day challenge, but you're not even doing all 30 days? Look, it's just a personal challenge for me. This is a personal video for me. And the ultimate point was just to challenge myself to keep trying to learn something new, but not burn myself out either. That's why I ended up taking a couple days off. And then my next photo is technically on day 9. So yes, technically it's not a full 30-day challenge. It's probably more like a 15-day challenge if you really want to get into the technicalities of it. But the point is of doing art is to make sure that you don't burn yourself out and that you're having fun. If you don't have those two factors, then you're not going to enjoy it at all. And what's the point of me doing a 30-day challenge and forcing myself to work on something if ultimately I'm not going to enjoy it, and then I'm probably just going to want to quit, because then you won't have anything to see. That's kind of the whole reason why you don't see me doing art every single day for this challenge. So for day 6, I wanted to give the Wacom tablet another try, and so I didn't really know anything to draw. I didn't have anything set up like the way I do for Procreate, so I was back to using Photoshop, and I had no color palette set up. I had no brushes set up really. I didn't know really what I was gonna do, so I just attempted to draw the same girl that I drew the day before, and this is what I got. I was just kind of going outside the box, trying something completely different, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. Like, yes, obviously there's a lot more things that could have been done better, but overall I think it came out pretty great, especially considering the fact that I was just working with Photoshop and I was pretty much starting all over again in terms of knowledge and how to use a program for drawing. So I was pretty proud of this. It took me a long ass time to do this one as well too, way more than 15 minutes, probably like 3 hours if I'm being completely honest, but overall, I was still really happy with it. Now, after day 6, I took a couple days off because I wanted to not burn myself out, and I just wanted to, you know, soak everything in that I have learned up to this point. Then we move on to finally day 9. Day 9 is where we made 3 different pieces of artwork, starting first with the watermelon. This was a tutorial I followed to try and learn how to do a couple things specifically just in terms of Procreate, and they had you draw a watermelon, so I drew it as well too. I'll put a picture right beside here. I'll put a screenshot of the video I watched because I can't find it right now at this exact moment. But I did this one. On top of the watermelon photo, I did a yin yang photo as well too. For those that have been very astute observers, you would know that the chain that I wear in a lot of my videos is a yin yang symbol. It is black and white. You see me literally have it all the time, and so it should come to no surprise to anyone that I would actually want to make an artwork based around that symbol. I just like it a lot, dog. So this is something I made. The only reference I used was just to actually know how to draw this correctly. I know it's probably to some people like, oh bro, how the fuck you don't know how to draw that? Hey, look, I make sure I take all the precautionary steps so that I can achieve my vision. But everything else, I just thought of it in my mind. I was like, this looks fucking cool. I was like, this is supposed to be like water underneath it and smoke around it. Like, there's nothing really deep behind this. I just chose a bunch of shit that I thought looked cool. And then to add one more artwork for day 9, I drew that girl again that I drew on day 5 and day 6. I wanted to take my hand at drawing her again. And this was like a super big step up to me. I was like, let's fucking go. All that shit that I was absorbed in the past couple days taking a break, I feel like it was really setting in because I was like, this looks fucking fire to me, bro. I took a long time to do this one, just like everything else. But as you can see, the proportions are better. I finally got the hair looking somewhat more decent. I think the coloring and shading is really spot on in terms of just being there. I added some thigh highs. Like we fucking cooking on this one, bro. We were going in. We were starting to make some hot improvements. And then I tried to add like highlights for the hair. Like, of course, is it amazing? No, far from it. But I would say from day 5 and 6 to day 9, this was pretty fucking fire. I was like, let's fucking go. And you know, for me, I was starting to think that I was starting to be like, man, how the fuck am I going to improve from here? Oh boy, was I sorely naive. Because like I tell you, man, once we get to day 24, I know I'm hyping it up, but I'm pretty excited to show y'all that one. Now, moving on to day 10, I tried to up my game. I was like, let's fucking go. I'm gonna try and do some like studies and, you know, see if maybe if I can start picking up some other details. I tried and it wasn't bad. One of the things I did for day 10 was I wanted to try and learn how to draw hair, and I followed along with the tutorial, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I'll post a screenshot right beside this artwork so you can check it out. But I tried to follow along with them and how they drew the head. I didn't do that great of a job. I tried to follow along for the eyes. I obviously didn't do too hot with that as well either. But it was still an attempt, and I was still pretty happy with it just because I never attempted it before. And the biggest thing when it comes to art is to never let yourself get discouraged or demotivated from trying to create new things, or at least try to learn new things. For me, it's happened a lot throughout that journey up to this point. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm also lucky to have a lot of friends who happen to also be artists, and they were able to motivate me and keep me going, especially when I doubted myself a lot. Because I have doubted myself so much throughout this journey. I have considered a lot of artwork. I've done dog shit. I was like, why am I even bothering? I'm not making art. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm a fucking failure. I've been everywhere, dog. Even up to this point, I still have it. But if it wasn't for those friends who supported me, I guarantee it would have been a lot rougher going through this journey. Continuing on for day 10, I also try to draw legs. I want to draw legs and thigh highs because I like them, dog. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. Thigh highs are fucking dope, dog. And so I was like, why not try and draw something I like? And so I looked up a reference on how to draw it, and this was what I got. Left one was my first attempt. Right was my second attempt. It was pretty fire. And you know, I mean, for what it was worth, I was like, I can't expect the whole universe to perfect it off the first attempt. But again, for the first attempt, I was pretty happy. So moving on to day 11, I tried to draw legs again. The whole purpose of me doing this is really just to get thigh highs down. I was just trying to get it perfected and trying to make it look as realistic as possible, because some of the fan art I've been seeing people draw, I was like, god damn, I was like, these motherfuckers be drawing this shit looking fucking chef's kiss. It's fucking perfect. And so I was like, I got my mindset on the goal. I want to replicate that. And oh, you bet your ass I finally replicated. It took me a while, but I got there. So the main point of this was just really to try and get shading down, trying to figure out how to even get highlights, shading, and everything else for that. So after day 11, I took another couple days off. I was like, all right, I've been drawing shit. I've been going ham. I do so much shit and over the past couple days. I need to stop. I need to take a break. I need to take it all in. I need to just recharge my battery, because I also do YouTube as well. And so I try to find that balance so that I can keep on making videos. But ultimately I failed. As anyone who's been keeping up my channel, I already said I was struggling to even get videos uploaded because I was so focused on trying to get this video in particular and just following along on my art journey. Because ever since I started doing art, my nights went from going to sleep normally at like 1 o'clock at night, probably like 12 o'clock at night, to going to sleep at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I wasn't forced to. I just wanted to really create this art. I was just like so ingrained. I had a vision. I was like, I want to do this. I want to make this. And so I was just dedicating so much fucking time into it. And so that's why I never had time for YouTube videos, because in the time when I wake up, I have other things I need to do. And then by the time nighttime comes where I can record videos, I was like, nah, I'm going to work on art. And then I'll work on art from like 6 or 7 p.m. until like 3 in the morning. But I don't regret it. I'll tell you that for a fact. So moving on to day 14, this was my first real attempt at looking at references and just trying to redraw the same thing that I see on my screen. And so I have it on screen right now. You'll see what I drew and then you'll see the reference. Did it come out pretty close? I think so. I think it was pretty spot on. Did I make some tweaks? Of course I did. But that's kind of like the whole point. A reference is a reference. You use that as a starting point and then you tweak it and alter it based on what you want out of it. And again, at the same time, again, my priority was to try and get thigh highs down and thighs in general. So a lot of the artwork that I was doing over the next couple days was focused on that. So moving on to day 15 is where I really try to start getting creative and trying to do more than just looking at a reference and copying that and calling it a day. With this piece, I wanted to take the reference and then elevate it beyond just what it was originally supposed to be, which is just a girl holding a bag behind her legs with a white background. I said, we ain't doing that. I want to go way beyond that and make something super fire. And so I was like, we're going to get background going. I'm going to sit there and kill it with the thigh highs. I'm going to make this shit look fucking clean. And this is what we got. And honestly, I am super proud of this. When I made this shit, I was like, holy fuck. Like for me, I was really impressed with the background because I hadn't done anything like this up to this point. I didn't use any references. I just looked at my imagination. I had a lot of Bob Ross inspirations because I used to watch Bob Ross a lot. So that was kind of how I was able to at least get some ideas on what I wanted to make. But I really like making backgrounds. I think it's fucking fun as hell. I like to take the idea of using a reference, especially one that has no background, and trying to put that into its own little universe where now you're creating like its own background and own scene. I think it's a lot of fun to me. But I want to say this is one of the first pivotal artworks that I created that I was like, all right, I think things are starting to come together. I was like, I started feeling the motivation. I was feeling inspired. I was like, hey, we're doing something, dog. I was like, holy fuck. I was like, god damn, you know, I was like, it was just exciting. I also want to explain one more thing because you're going to see it in the time lapses like you probably just saw now. And you're probably wondering what my intent or idea behind tracing a reference first before drawing my sketch is, but I'll explain it to you. So originally up to this point, I never actually traced any references at all. I just tried to gauge it with my eyes and called it a day. I haven't been drawing no shapes. I don't draw cylinders for the legs or drawing shapes to build out an outline. I don't do any of that. I just use my eyes and hope for the best. So throughout my art journey, I had a couple artist friends recommend me to try and trace the reference before actually drawing my sketch and then line art, etc., and see if that would help me out. And ultimately it did. And so I'll explain why. So when I get a reference, I always trace it right off the bat just to get an idea of how the actual line art is supposed to look, and then just to actually get practice so that I have a better idea how to draw this or how I'm drawing lines, how I'm going to draw this, proportions, etc., etc. It's pretty much to train muscle memory, I guess, if you want to call it that. I don't really know if that's a proper way to explain it, but it was at least to start getting me in the habit of how to draw these lines, how to draw lines longer, or draw lines straight, or draw lines like this, or to at least see how is it actually supposed to look like, but on a line art by itself instead of looking at a complete art with already colors and everything else put in. That's the reason why you see most times for a lot of these time lapses, well, now going forward, you see me trace the reference first, then I put it to the right corner, and then I make my own sketch, and then I make my own line art, etc., etc. I don't actually use a trace that I did for my actual art, but I use it as a reference point so that when I make my own sketch and then I go to make my line art, etc., I at least have a good base to work with. Moving on to day 16, same thing as I said before. I was focused on just drawing thighs, thigh highs. Like I said earlier, I ain't going to sugarcoat it. I like thighs, I like thigh highs, so of course I'm going to focus on drawing things that I like. And if I enjoy drawing it, I'm of course going to get better at it because I want to keep making it better every single time. So again, I took another reference, something I saw, and I was like, all right, I want to recreate this, but then from there, I want to sit there and put it in its own background. I like the challenge because it helps me be creative and then focus my skills on something without really having any reference and just seeing what I can cook up. Because again, I like creating backgrounds. I think it's extremely fun. And for this piece, I was super excited. I was just like, whew. Now, it did take me a couple extra days to do this one. So while this technically was what I started on day 16, I didn't really like finish it until probably like day 18 or 19. but it was just something that I had most of it finished within the first day, but it just took a couple extra days to polish it because I started working on something else. Now, another artwork that I started on day 16 was drawing anime eyes. I looked up a tutorial that was from Draw with Nana, and it was called How to Draw Anime Style Eyes for Beginners on Procreate. And I was so blown away with this. Granted, I originally came into this thinking it was gonna be like a super easy tutorial. I was way off. It's not to say it was super hard, but I didn't expect it to be so in-depth because these eyes look fucking gorgeous, bro. Oh, jeez. Look at me with those eyes. I can't say no to anything. So I was super happy with this. It was my first real time ever trying to draw eyes. Because up to this point, I've never done it at all. Well, at least anime eyes or anime eyes that look good. They all look like dog shit, to be honest. So I was like, the fact that I was even able to get this done following along, it was at least a good way to start laying a foundation for future artworks when I do want to start drawing anime eyes and at least making an attempt, because you'll never know how to draw if you never practice or at least attempt to draw it. So moving on to day 17, now I was kind of trying to expand a little bit on what my focus was for the drawing. I wanted to now do a reference that was at least showing some of the torso. You can see the stomach. I tried to shade it as best as I could. I spent like an hour, 2 hours just trying to figure this part out. Of course, one of the focus was thighs again, and then having gym shorts, trying to draw different clothing. I learned how to draw sweat marks. I thought that was kind of cool. The whole idea behind this is someone was supposed to be playing like volleyball or like some type of sport. Now, granted, is the execution on point? I thought it was pretty cool, especially considering I'm not really that good at anything, and I was just kind of trying to draw it the best that I could. So I was super happy with it. Again, I know that like a lot of the artwork you've seen is me just focusing literally on the lower body, and you're probably like, God damn, is this man going to draw anything else? And yes, I do eventually draw other things, but again, the focus of this was for me to try and perfect at least one part of the body instead of me jumping all over the place. It seemed really redundant and silly to me to sit there and work on face today, and then work on arms tomorrow, and then work on hands another day, and then work on this and work. I felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere. It seemed like a waste of my time. So for me, it just made sense to keep focusing on lower body until I was happy with the progress that I've made, and I felt like I was at a really comfortable spot with it, and then I'll work my way up and try and focus on other things, which again, I eventually do in the artworks later on. So moving on to day 18, this is one of my favorite pieces of all time. I was so proud of this one. I felt like everything just came together really well from this. The reference I used was, it was pretty much just a girl standing there. It was just a white background, but I was like, all right, I got ideas for this. I was like, I'm cooking up stuff before I even got the artwork done. And so as you can see, I took a lot of different things that I pretty much had like the base reference, but then I expanded upon it a lot. I took the little bag and tried to put it behind her as if she's holding it. I took that idea from one of the artworks I did previously in the past. I added the yin yang symbol, the little chain. I was like, I fucking like it, and I thought that it's a great way to just add my own little style into it. I was super happy with just the overall shading, the coloring. I tried to experiment with some things and try adding blur to the photo. Did it look great? I'm kind of like indifferent to it. It was just me experimenting, trying out different ideas. But overall, I was just so fucking proud of this. I just thought it looked fucking amazing. One thing I learned throughout working on all these different art pieces is knowing when to say stop and just understand where your skill level is and when you need to move on. And this was one of those pieces that I had to eventually learn that on, because I was working on it for many days. Sometimes I just wasn't really working on it much. I just did like one or two things. I might color something and then stop. But I knew that I couldn't work on this for an indefinite amount of time, that I still need to try and focus on other things, because again, this is a personal challenge to me, and I want to make sure that I'm still trying to learn something new every day, or at least when I'm not burnt out from art and I'm done taking my little break and I'm back on the grind trying to draw stuff. Moving on to day 20, I created this Happy New Year's artwork, something to celebrate the new year. I learned how to draw some fireworks earlier in the day, just practicing, just having some fun. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me see if I can implement it into this and make my own little New Year's post to just celebrate the new year. Try adding a little shadow to the snowman. Probably doesn't even look correct in terms of where the lighting's at, but I was happy with it overall. It was just a fun post to just celebrate a good time and just, you know, see what I can create without having to be focused on trying to draw anime characters or trying to draw a body part or trying to do this or trying to do that. It was just supposed to be fun artwork. That's literally it. Day 23, I ended up making this. I recently got some new brushes at that time, and I was trying out some stuff, and I was like, let me see what I can make with it. And I was pretty happy with it. It wasn't supposed to be anything serious. It wasn't supposed to be anything crazy good or in-depth. It was just having fun. That's also the reason why you see a stick man there. I was like, I'm not about to draw an actual person, but the idea was it's supposed to be someone drawing their own painting of the mountains that you see further in the back, and they're drawing the sky and everything else. Now, whether or not I conveyed that well, who knows, but I was still pretty happy with it. Again, it wasn't supposed to be anything super in-depth. It was just a fun sketch, if you will. Moving on to day 24, this was my first attempt at ever trying to draw a face. I haven't really done any practice of it up to this point. As you can see, I was clearly focusing on lower body. So for me, I was like, all right, we're going to start trying to work on face, or at least attempt it somehow. And to be honest, for my first attempt, I was pretty happy with it. I expected it to come out a lot worse than it actually came out. And, you know, again, for a first attempt, I couldn't be anything but just happy, because I was like, at least it looks like something. At least it looks like a face. And honestly, the whole reason why I didn't draw eyes as well too, and I just had it as like just a little black outline, is because I wasn't confident with my skills yet for drawing eyes. So I just left it at that. And honestly, I think it kind of adds its own little style or touch to it. And I don't know. Honestly, I really like this one a lot. It was really fun to make. Moving on to day 26, I tried to draw Lemon from Magic and Muscles, and this is what my attempt was. I didn't bother finishing the coloring or shading or anything like that. I just kind of tried to do the best that I could. Does it look great? Honestly, it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I obviously didn't like it enough to finish coloring it or even really making it look that great, because I just knew that I wasn't doing that great of a job. But again, you're not going to be good at anything that you start off right off the bat, and I know that I have a long way to go, but that's just how it is in any creative field. And now we move on to day 27, the last and final day. Everything comes up to this point. I wanted to have one more artwork done to finish off this video and just have something really neat and something that I'm personally proud of and something that made me super excited. You know, I don't really know any other way to describe this other than me just being proud of myself, me just being happy, looking at the entire process, the entire journey, seeing everything I've done up to this point, just to now finally make something that I genuinely wouldn't even mind having as a wallpaper at this point, because it looks fucking fire. It's just honestly a great feeling to have. But let me stop hyping it up. I know if you made it this far into the video, or you just skipped to this part of the video, you're like, let me just fucking see it, bro. Stop talking about it. All right, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the final artwork of the challenge that I presented to myself, day 27. I redrew the same girl that I drew from day 5, and I couldn't be anything more than just ecstatic, excited, proud. Words can't even describe it at this point for how this turned out. I'm just so fucking excited. This is just, it's just one of those things where like you look at it after you made it, and then you look back at yourself and you're like, did I really fucking do this? Did I actually make this? And then you realize that, yeah, I did do it. And that's just how I feel. Like, obviously, is there always things that I could do better? Of course, there's so many things I could do better. But for my first attempt at actually trying to draw anime eyes, I was like, God damn, this is fucking fire. And then I tried to draw a mouth. I was like, let's fucking go. I was like, we were fucking cooking, man. Like, there was just so many things that I tried to go outside of my field. With this piece in particular, I wanted to try so hard to move away from what the original drawing was that I followed along in that time lapse, and try to make it as much of my own as I possibly could. Pretty much almost like make my, I guess, own original character, if you will, right? Like, that was the entire purpose of this. And of course, there's so many things, like I said, that I could still tweak and do better and do differently. But my God, this is just so fucking fire, man. I was just so fucking proud of this, and I can't praise it enough, just how happy I was. Anyways, that concludes my art challenge to myself. You have seen everything that I have made up to this point. I have been wanting to show this for a while. I have been wanting to talk about it for some time, but the whole reason I didn't want to talk about it earlier was because I actually wanted to build up a decent amount of art to show and actually have like some progress to show, instead of, hey guys, I made this and all right, that's it for the video. No, I want to actually have like a timeline that you can see from where I started to where I'm at now. And so from here, I do want to give some final closing thoughts. First thing, am I going to quit doing art after doing this? No. No, I'm not. I might end up taking more time to work on pieces and actually start really getting into studying things, but I have no intentions of quitting. Again, the whole purpose of this art challenge to myself was just to learn something new every day, or at least try to learn something new every day, and just see if I even like doing art, see if I even want to draw it. Because who knows, maybe after a couple days I probably would have just been like, it's not for me, or you never know, right? But that's the whole purpose of it. That's why you didn't see me try and jump in and start learning anatomy or trying to do references, poses, and all this other extra shit. I was like, man, fuck all that. I was like, I want to draw anime. I was like, I want to draw anime and that's it. I was like, I know what my mind is set on. I was like, if I like doing this, then I'll expand my horizons, because that's what this whole journey has been. Every time I worked on a new piece of art, it's always led to me going down a new rabbit hole, trying to figure out how to do this, how to do that, how to do this, how to do that, etc, etc, etc. And that's how I like it. That is my journey. That's how I've done every single field. I always start off by trying to learn what I want to make, and then it takes me down a rabbit hole where I learn other things, because I'm like, oh shit, I want to do this as well too. I want to add this, I want to add this. How do I do this? And so like up to this point, I was like, I haven't really studied any videos on how to actually properly draw bodies using shapes or any of that. But now I'm going to, because I'm like, I actually want to learn that. Whereas when I first started, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't want to learn that, because I was like, why? What's the point? But now that I've had so much experience now under my belt in terms of, and I know it sounds wild, like I don't mean like I got infinite wealth of experience, but I mean from where I was started at the beginning to where I'm at now, and everything I've learned up to this point, I now feel confident and I feel excited enough to want to take that next step and start focusing on a lot more studies of poses, anatomy, face structure, etc, etc. Like, and I know I probably use some of these terms wrong and I apologize, but you get the point I'm trying to make. When I went into this, I just wanted to see if I like art and if I wanted to even go down this route and keep on working on it. And the answer is yes, I do. For anyone who's even made this far into the video, if you're brand new into art or you're thinking about getting into art, I don't really have any advice to tell you other than try it out. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I know there's another topic of discussion of AI. What's the point of getting into art if AI exists? And I can tell you, because of the satisfaction of drawing art. There's no words that can describe my excitement every time I finish the art piece, and just how fucking excited I was, how proud I was. I was just over the moon. I was like, I can't believe I fucking did this. And then I start sharing it with a bunch of friends. You know, like you can't beat that feeling. AI will never beat that. There's nothing that will ever be able to top just the personal feeling of knowing that you took that pencil or pen, or you drew on either paper, or you drew on digital art, or whatever medium that you worked on. Nothing will ever top that feeling when you sit there and finish something. You know that you did that. That is irreplaceable, and nothing will ever beat that. Anyways, this video's gone on long enough. I know it's almost like 40 minutes long. I appreciate anyone who's even made it this far. I feel like it's probably like a lot of jargon for most people, and most people probably aren't even going to watch it. Maybe just like one or two people. And for those who do, I appreciate it. It truly means a lot to me. Also, I just want to give a really big thank you to all my artist friends that have supported me, have just given me advice, have helped me out. You know, there's no words that can describe the feelings that I have for all the support. It genuinely means a lot to me, and I know that without that support, I definitely would have never made it as far as I have. I definitely would have probably quit. So once again, I just want to say thank you for any of y'all. If y'all do end up watching this video, it truly means a lot to me to have y'all support and for your continuous support. And for those that are wondering, I will put a link in the description below for all the references I use for each day, or I'll at least try and find the actual representation of the original source, because most of them I found off Pinterest, and I know Pinterest isn't exactly the greatest place for finding where the actual image originated from, but I'll try the best that I can. This isn't a video I normally make. It's definitely something I don't post on this channel often. I have so many more thoughts I could always go into, but I'm gonna save that maybe for another video, depending on how people like this one. I also do have art accounts if you do want to check it out. You probably noticed it earlier on my day 18 post for the girl that was standing at like a train station waiting for a train. You saw like my social media on a train banner or some shit. So if you want to go follow me there, you want to go check it out, you can. I'm not going to be posting artwork on my Wasabi account. It's two different audiences. I'm not going to mix those up together. So that's the whole reason why there's a whole nother account for it. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. I really don't have much more to say. If you made this far into the video, consider giving a like, subscribing to the channel, leave me a comment below what you think. Have a great day. I'm fucking tired. It's almost 1 o'clock. Have a great day. Yeah.